Here at Strength Coach Network, we pride ourselves on giving you the best quality information from strength and conditioning coaches and practitioners that still work with or have worked with athletes. This is not theory. We are always about giving you practical information that you can apply day one the minute you're done listening to this. And you can check us out for a $1 trial in the link down below. Click that link and find out more about us.
I give my final this week, but basically it's a 20-question nutrition quiz. We did an 8-week nutrition unit. So basically, I take 20 questions from what they did, and that's their final for this semester. Next semester is a gigantic project that they work through. So, my lower level kids will do like a trifold poster, and it's just like basic information. And then that's the 7th graders at this point. My 8th graders will do I call it the Muscle Man project, where they gotta basically be able to label a muscle, the body with a bunch of muscles, about 30 muscles, but they actually have to make something. So I don't want a drawing, I don't want a PowerPoint. Like, you got to go old school. You got to go like old school solar system stuff. So like my first year I did this, we had this one kid make 2 4-foot cakes, and brought them in and labeled the body. It was great. We had cake for like 3 days. But then they have to basically tell me, like, they had to pick, I think it's 4 or 5 muscles, and tell me if they didn't have that muscle, what could you still do in the weight room and what couldn't you do in the weight room. So that's kind of cool. And then most of my high school kids, they have a project where I got to figure out what I want to do this year, but they built a program one year. We did the quadrant system one time, that kind of stuff. And then my older kids, the advanced kids, they'll do like a project where they have to analyze a bar path. So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
I like that. I like that year, the second semester deal. But like with the bar path one is pretty cool, because either got to do clean, squat, or deadlift. Most of them I just make them do clean because it's fun for me. And then I'll do a bar path, send it to them. They'll analyze it, and then they'll break it down and tell me what they need to fix, how they're going to fix it in eccentric, isometric, concentric, basically all the phases, and then give me a bunch of muscles they do it with. So it's pretty cool when they actually get done with it all. But the beautiful part is with those older kids, by the time they're like halfway through the semester, I don't have to really correct anything, because they're just sitting there videoing themselves and making sure their bar path's where it needs to be. So it makes my life real easy.
Now, the first question anybody listening to this might be like, hold on, are you guys like, is it more coaching or is it more teaching stuff? Because I don't think anybody was going to be expecting that. Like, how much of your all's time, because I've had so many different coaches on that have, some of them are employed as a strength coach. Some of them are a strength coach that teach classes. Some of them are a strength coach that only teaches S&C because they don't have a teaching certificate. Some of them wish they could because they're only employed as the strength coach. They've tried to get a curriculum, but the district has pushed back on it because they already don't want athletes to feel special, and they don't want to so it's a very, very broad question, but to all of you, and you guys can all figure out the order, but how much of it's coaching, how much of it's teaching, and how did you get started with it?
I'll go first. So most of I'd say the first month and a half, 2 months of school is teaching a bunch of different things. It's teaching the lifts. It's teaching I always start with the health and skill components of fitness. Then we kind of move into some other different areas, nutrition wise. And then, like I said, second semester, it's muscles and all this stuff, but it's doing a lot of teaching, front loading. And then I'd say, I don't know, maybe 2 months or a month and a half into it, then it starts becoming more coaching for me, at least until the end of the semester. Once the second semester comes, then it's kind of starts back over. I have 7th grade through 12th, so I'm kind of fortunate in that one where I'll get the kids for 6 years, technically or realistically. But it's the teaching aspect of it. So I get the middle school kids. I think you asked how I got into that. That's the second question. When I graduated college, I moved down to Alabama, helped my uncle start a wrestling program down there, but I couldn't find a teaching job. So I kind of got a real quick personal training cert that was online, worked at a local gym, and then got a job out in Colorado, teaching out there. And I had basically 1 or 2 weights classes, and then really just kind of fell in love with it, kind of did a deep dive in it. and then I got my CSCS, and then that was kind of the kickstart of everything after really diving down into it. But I had a teaching license, so that's kind of what got me into the door the first place.
Anybody else? Anybody, just feel free, jump right in.
What college did you go to, Justin?
The only one, Lock Haven.
That's where I went.
That's crazy.
Jim McFarland.
So my job, I got it because.
Oh, that's all right, Pat. You want to go? Yeah,
Go ahead,
Jim
Jim.
McFarland. I'm
Go.
also a graduate of Lock Haven University, 1991, though, Justin. And I was able to dual major in health and physical education and exercise science, and that was pretty tough being a collegiate athlete.
Team Builder is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for online software for strength coaches. It does not matter what sector of strength and conditioning you work in, you want to get Team Builder because you will be able to program for your athletes, simply distribute the training to them, and make changes, modifications, whatever you need. I've been utilizing them since 2019 when I was back at Towson. I still use it in person at Goldfinch with all my remote clients throughout the country, and in person at the high school, Centennial High, right down the road when I was volunteering for them. You got to check out Team Builder in the link down below. The people that work for them are former strength and conditioning coaches, so they get it. They are able to help you with all of your needs. Again, reach out to your Team Builder rep and learn more about them in the link down below.
But Lock Haven University worked it out. They just posted up there, you're going to take 17, 18 credits a semester for the next 2.5 years. You go, boy. And I managed to pull the best grades I ever did in those last couple of years. Imagine that. Something that you're interested in. But it was an interesting path because I was able to be a college football coach right away and put some of that exercise science background into my first job, and then won master's degree education and oh my gosh, why am I lost for what are grad assistantships? Grad assistantships were kind of cut back in those early 90s. I said, we got to make a switch. So it was into teaching. And I fell into this wonderful opportunity where they just built a 3,000 square foot weight room, and they were looking to build a program and offer athletes an opportunity to train during the school day and build that off-season programming and outreach programs afterwards. So I was able to see that from the ground.
Something went wrong. Everyone else is being recorded. Ask Jim to refresh, then rejoin.
Yeah.
I think he's in incognito mode. We'll go back up to you. Oh, is Jim back?
Yeah, man. It said that my transmission stopped.
Do you want me to go until Jim gets on?
He's back. I don't know if you see it, Patrick, but he's back.
Yeah, I got
I'm
it.
back.
Yep.
So you had the 3,000 square foot facility that you were talking about?
Yeah, and so through Booster Club support and community support, we were able to grow that to a 15 rack and platform facility, have a secondary facility in the upper school, and be able to run strength and conditioning programs during the PE class and after school for more than 22 years. And knowing that the school district would support me, was able to do the study materials, gain my NSCA certification, and told myself if I was able to do that in the first 2 years, let's present this stuff and let's get to conferences for free. And it was an amazing road because I found a group of professionals that were very supportive and an association that was amazing with a depth of research. Even though that there was limited youth research out there, we found some great things in some of that Eastern European, even rugby programming and how they use less intense training and some different things. And that's how we became a little bit more interested in Olympic weightlifting, and school district flew me out to Colorado Springs, and I was able to get my first level USA weightlifting class out at Colorado Springs and ran that for the next 3 courses and ended up with my master level coach course certification. And we kind of piggybacked with a competitive lifting thing to get a better feel for how the technique is actually taught by those who use it all the time. How does programming look in the competitive lifting sports, and how does that parallel some of the programming that we're doing, and how can some of the initiatives in competitive weightlifting help drive The culture of our school actually helped us make money for our school to run meets there. We had school age masters meets there for about 6 or 7 years. High school powerlifting championship meets. But yeah, it was a pretty good run. So nice experience.
Patrick.
I got lucky because there was a CSCS at the high school. He left, went to another school. So you had to be a CSCS and you had to have your teaching license. A lot of college coaches applied, but they didn't have their teaching license. A lot of teachers applied, but they didn't have their CSCS. So the first school, Ponderosa High School in Parker, Colorado, that's why they hired me and built up the program for a few years. And then Castleview was a brand new school opening up. AD came over and said, hey, we need a strength coach. Would you mind? So that's where I spent my last 13 years. So I really got lucky having both the CSCS and the teaching license.
Did you have any foresight? Like, hey, I wanted to be did you have parents, teachers? Like, how did you have the teaching certificate? Because like, it's now more common, but I feel like, or I guess PE teachers, you did need to have that before to be a PE teacher, right?
Okay, before you guys start laughing, I started out as an elementary school teacher. I taught 4th grade. I was going to be a principal. And after my first year, I saw what these teachers were doing to the principal. I'm like, there's no way. I'm not going to put up with that. So NSCA National Conference was in Colorado, and I went to that. I went down and I got my USA weightlifting certification. It was Lynn Jones's very first class. So I got my USA weightlifting, and then I started studying, took some classes, got my CSCS, went back and got my master's, and was a 4th grade teacher getting a master's in kinesiology at the same time. And then the job opened up, and that's when I switched over.
Going up top, Rick, and then Jesse next. Rick, Jesse, and then Jonmarc. You're in the hole.
Cool, thank you. It's interesting, Patrick. I didn't know that about you, so that's pretty cool figuring that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, my experience is more like ancient history. So my original strength and conditioning was probably about 30 years ago in the school district of Philadelphia. I was working for a nonprofit at the time and reached out to one of the schools, and so the school had basically a fitness center in the school, and I was running a fitness center, and so I would have the students come over and help learn what the whole field was about. They would help do blood pressures and heart rates of people who came in. One was very mechanically inclined, and he would help to do machine repair and stuff. And so got involved, and I reached back out to the school. I'm like, you have a lot of really talented students here. Like, what are you doing for your strength and conditioning? And they weren't doing anything. So I went over and I helped the school out do all the training for all their teams. And then I ended up working for the school district, and I was able to oversee the strength and conditioning for the entire school district of Philadelphia for a period of time, which was very cool. Interesting because there's so much territory. So nobody really wanted to share their facilities so that students would have access and be able to get the training in. Because, sometimes a coach would go over and try to pick somebody out of another training facility to bring them back to their school. So it was interesting. So I've kept in strength and conditioning ever since, and I still work with lots of groups of kids, either at summer camps or different times to keep the strength and conditioning going strong, and now really try to apply it more from the long-term athletic development lens.
Yeah, but you've got to you have like the ultimate OG high performance manager mindset of seeing, running a department, but from even further detached point of view, like you were doing that, the academy setting from out in Europe, but just in here in Philly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was back when it really wasn't all that popular yet. And so way back when was, I think, when I met folks like Patrick and Jim and stuff and had those conversations of what are you doing and all that stuff. So that's one of the cool things I've thought is that the strength community is such a friendly community and always wanting to be helpful to see how we could help one another to do what we need to do to be the best we can for our teams.
Jesse.
Yeah, for me, strength and conditioning really took hold for me when I was in high school. We were fortunate enough to have a strength coach. Had a massive impact on my life. Went off to college. Was drawn to exercise science. That was the thing that kind of really hit home with me. Flirted with the idea of going to PT school, but then the more I kind of dove into that, it was extremely boring to me. I wanted to be more involved. I mean, at that point, I realized that my athletic career was not going to take me to the professional level, but I was drawn to be in athletics. I did an internship, and then I was hooked. I quit my job the next day, the second I got accepted into internship, and with that whole like burn the ship mindset, and eventually got a job at the D1 level collegiately, worked there for a little while, and then was looking for something different. Timing wise, there was an opportunity at one of the local high schools to run their strength and conditioning program, and for me, I just wanted to have a positive impact on the people, on the younger athletes, like my coach had on me when I was in high school, and then have the opportunity to just build things the right way. That was kind of my draw. I do not have a teaching certificate. I just strictly do strength conditioning.
Now, with the PT thing, though, it is maybe kind of boring-ish, but I feel like some strength coaches are kind of dabbing in that world, especially in like professional setting, not so much high school, but they might want to, because some high schools just contract out a PT that doesn't even know the kids, doesn't know anything. So that could be a little niche and a little hole to fill.
100%. My two best friends became PTs, and they both hated it with a passion because they didn't work with athletes. So like for me, I was like, I don't hate my job. I love my job. It's a dream every day.
Jonmarc.
My journey started back in 2017 when I was an intern at my alma mater. I graduated in 2019 with a kinesiology degree from Eureka College. That's up in Illinois. It's also the alma mater of Ronald Reagan, if anyone ever cares about that. If
Giddy up.
there's like a Reagan museum and a Reagan statue and a Reagan scholarship there, so we were well reminded that Reagan went there. But graduated in 2019. I kind of dabbled in the PT setting as well. I worked as a tech for about 2.5 years. And I wanted to go to PT school when I was in college. And full transparency here to everyone, I was a terrible student. I mean, even in high school, going to college, I was a terrible student. Didn't study, and I mean that translated on later in life, and I learned my lessons then. But was a terrible student. Didn't go to PT school. I still thank God for not letting me go to PT school and actually doing what I want to do now. But
I think it's because most people don't know what it is at a really young age, right? Like, I mean, shoot, people still confuse me and my wife because she's an athletic trainer. They're like, oh, you do the same thing. It's like, no.
Yeah. But 2019, I moved to Tennessee. I'm originally from Tennessee. I lived in Illinois for about 8 years, did my high school and college years up there, moved to Tennessee. I was working at PT setting for about a year when I was down here. I was making $9 an hour, give or take. And then I met my wife, and then I wanted to build a life for me and for her. So I went into the education setting, where I got my teaching license, and I taught biology, I taught social studies, I taught weightlifting, I taught science for about 3 to 4 years until recently, where I kind of landed my strength and conditioning gig that I have now at Jackson Christian School. And some of these schools, I was doing the strength and conditioning stuff either before school, after school, during my plan period. Just trying to make something shake, trying to keep my feet wet, trying to, breaking into the industry, kind of make a name for myself locally around here. And I've been blessed enough to kind of be in a group setting like this to where I learn from really great coaches, and blessed enough now to be a state director for the NSCA, for the Tennessee chapter. So it's been really cool, man. It's been really cool.
Andrew, then Tyler.
Yeah, I graduated from IU Indy in 2012, and it was right going into that. Finishing up school, you got that one internship you're trying to find, and thankfully enough, our program director pointed me to Brian Clark, if anybody has ever heard of him.
Hawken Dynamic is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for force plates and for handheld dynamometers. Not only am I using it now in the private sector at Goldfinch, I was utilizing this software when I was back at Towson University. You're able to transport the plates because I've taken them from our private sector facility to our other locations, also been able to take it from our private in-person location to the high school down the road to do some testing with athletes right then and there. You're able to pair your true strength with the striking difference machine. The people at Hawken are fantastic. The technology is second to none. You have to learn more about Hawken Dynamic in the link down below.
But he was big time strength coach in Indiana with Warren Central when they were in their national ranking for football in the mid 2000s. But I got to work with Brian up at Noblesville, and it's kind of at that point I knew I wanted to work in a high school. You know, they had a 7,000 square foot weight room that they had just opened when I started my internship, and just seeing the dynamics that they had is just really what kind of draws you into it. And, I worked for another Indianapolis school. And then it was 2015, got my first head strength job at LaPorte High School. It's in the, upper northwest, in Indiana. But they offered me the job. They said, we're doing some renovations, so we want to hire somebody who can kind of help guide us and kind of build in the weight room. And I also got my teaching license then. I applied for an emergency permit for physical education. And, so I've kept that going now, teacher of 10 years, strength coach of 14 years. And then my wife and I moved back down to Indianapolis, after 6 years at LaPorte. And it's where I got my current job. I'm at Greencastle High School. I'm on year 5 here. Kind of fortunate enough when I started here, it seems like any head job I get, it's always we've never had a strength program before. So, it's my 2 head jobs that I've had. That's what it's been, is never had a program before. We've had one class where it's mainly football players and basketball players. And now we want to get this stuff going. And it's this place here is definitely one of the best places I've been around. It's just as a lot of people talk, having that support from, admin through coaches. Our superintendent was a former teacher, former athlete, all those things, and he understands the importance of the weight room. And so I got to actually build. My wife helped me a lot with it, but got to actually design our 2,800 square foot weight room, 10 racks, 10 platforms, indoor turf inside the weight room. I mean, it's truly a blessing with, what we've been given here, but that's kind of where everything for myself started.
Tyler?
So mine kind of started in high school. So I went to a very good high school, like in the sense of had won lots of state championships in Maryville, Tennessee. And our strength coach had previously worked at the University of Tennessee, and he had worked under Johnny Long. So I was very blessed to have like those connections to start out with. So I asked him a lot of questions, did a lot of stuff in high school. I was training, just really fell in love with just strength training. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved football, but I also did the strength training part, and I really, really loved it. So I ended up going to Carson Newman, where Johnny Long went to after UT. I was under him for a couple of years. I did my undergrad in exercise science, and then I got my CSCS literally a week or 2 after I graduated. And then I realized, okay, I want to do high school. Like, don't get me wrong, college is great. So I went to Tennessee for a year and was under Kurt Smith and Rhett Brooks, and loved both of them. They were amazing. I learned a lot under both of them because I got to spend one-on-one time with them, and I really got to talk with them, and grew pretty close to them. Like, I got to know them very well. And I started at high school. Paul Shelton was the head football coach at South Dual. He is now the assistant head coach at UC Davis. So I was his head strength coach right after that. While I was getting my master's in education, because a lot of people don't realize when you're working in a school, like when you get this job, you're speaking to administrators. Like, it's not like you're talking to these strength coaches. It's like you're talking to people that probably have never worked out and have never had a desire to work out and know nothing about it. So you're literally going in as a salesman trying to sell yourself, saying, hey, listen, I'm really good at this. I know this. I can help your students with this. And they might buy it or they might not. And the deal with public education is you're literally just picking Every school could be different. The setup at each individual public school could be completely different. And some have much better setups and some have much more challenging setups. So you have to be very good at talking to the administrator and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Okay. And they're going to be like, well, how does this relate to education? I had one job, he wanted me to have them write papers in weightlifting class. Like in the middle of like throughout the semester, just write random papers like once a week. And I'm like, God help us. Like, and of course you tell them you do.
Workout, unless it's your workout card or like, you're going to write a progression of, whatever it is. Right. But it's like,
right. No, this was like a full page paper on like whatever topic you wanted.
Baby.
Yeah. So you have to deal with that and learn to deal with that. And the biggest key for high school, in my opinion, is making sure you have your CSCS and teacher license. Because I got both, like as soon as I finished my master's of education. So when you go into that office with the administrators, you look like you know what you're talking about. Oh, I have my master's in education. I have a teacher's license. I'm not just this CSCS guy. I literally have a master's in this. So I know how to do the teaching and all the other stuff that goes along with the strength and conditioning.
So we've got anybody listening, we have tons, all right, 7, 8 different backgrounds, different places to look at it from everybody's perspective. Everybody on the PDG, what are the biggest professional development needs for high school strength coaches right now? I know it's kind of broad, but where, like, maybe one of you will say something, and then you can be like, hey, I echo that plus this, but what are the biggest needs, professional development needs for high school strength coaches right now in 2025?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think there's two ways to look at that. I think the first one is those who are not certified teachers. Is a lot of those ones that don't have a teaching license don't necessarily know the lingo, right? How does the school operate? How does the school work, right? What does that look like? Who are you? Who's above you that you have to go to, right? So like for me, my background in teaching helps out a lot because I know the right terminology when I need to go talk to the AD or go talk to the principal or go talk to the superintendent or in my case, the president of the school. I know how it's operating. I know I can recognize that it's an education concept, right? Most of the schools that you go to, great, sports are there. Sports are always going to be there. But when you look at it, it comes down to it, they're there for an education. So if they're not a teacher, how can I provide that education to the students? If they are a teacher, I think the one thing that I always think about is God gave us 2 ears and 2 eyes for a reason, right? And we do too much of this and talking and not enough of listening and watching, right? This kid's moving this way. Well, why is this kid moving this way? Or in the sense of like, I know a lot of younger teachers that they react quickly. Where the older you get and the longer you're in there, you start realizing it's not really about you. It's not about your class. It's not about anything. Most of the time, it's what's happening at home or outside. So taking a step back and knowing that your program is just a little part of their day, to me, that's a big professional development. So I look at it from like a 2-part lens.
I think Tyler and Justin hit the nail on the head. All these principals, and it just seems like more and more want curriculum. Well, guess what? PE teachers don't give themselves and strength coaches don't give themselves enough credit. You teach the application of math. You teach the application of science. You teach the application of reading. Think about it. When you're watching somebody spotting, you're actually reading the way the bar. Justin, didn't you tell us you were watching bar path? What are they doing? They're reading the bar, seeing how it moves, and then deciding, oh, if it's doing this, what do I need to do? So you're actually teaching the concept of reading. Think about when you're in the weight room and how you're watching them move. You're watching how they're actually physically moving. So you're tracking that movement. Math, science, that's all we do. So really every one of these people sitting here is a STEM teacher. And they teach more STEM than anybody else in that building.
Yeah, I mean, to go piggyback off that, I mean, look at all we have VBT. Right. I know, a lot of people have the VBT. So how are we utilizing that? Are we looking at peak power, average power, power output, whatever it may be? But going back to your STEM stuff, Patrick, I mean, that's there too. Right. So how do you tie that stuff in? So, yeah.
That's actually something I didn't even think about, but want to double tap on because we did a research study at Towson and we were able to get the funding through the school, a fully funded research project that the school gave me and two other researchers, professors that worked there on the other side of campus, but it was through STEM, teaching them data analytics of like, hey, force plate metrics, research quality, like again, teaching them numbers in the weight room to make them aware, like, hey, you could actually have a career in this. This could change your life. Yes, we're going to do some research and we're going to see how all of the different sleep, stress, hydration, all that stuff affects your output on a force plate. And we're going to talk about that. But you might be like, hey, this is really interesting stuff. I want to change my career. I had one athlete do that, not a ton of them, but they're like, you're right. Dig into that, because that's a way to make the people above you realize what you're doing. And then like what Justin said, speak the language that they want to hear. We already try to do that with sport coaches. So high school strength coaches listening to this, there is a little bit of gold right there.
What about graphing? Just the basic math. If their vertical jump is getting better, the graph is going to get higher. If their pro agility and their 40 is getting faster, then it's going to be lower. So which way does the graph go? Are you teaching? You're literally just teaching basic math skills right there. Teaching weight on the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we all know that sometimes they need a little bit of, I mean, even the college kids need a little bit of help of, wait a minute, what is it when there's a 25 and a 10?
And honestly, at public schools, most of them just need the super basic. Like I will have kids that are just trying to add the weights on the bar, and they're sitting there just staring at it. And I'm like, it's like 20 plus 30. And they're sitting there looking like I'm asking them to do an algebra equation. Like, so sometimes depending on the class, you need to make it dirt simple, like super simple, because they're going to be confused. Like if we tried to go over that with some of the classes I've had, I mean, I don't know what's going on in some of their heads. Like it's just kind of air sometimes. So you got to make it really simple and applicable to the class you have for sure.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to try and make it more interesting. So we kept both kilos and pounds in our weight room. So the Olympic bumper plates were kilos and we left the others in pounds, and we made it work.
You're sadistic.
Yeah.
The only thing in our weight room that has the kilograms are the kettlebells. And I always have to remind the kids when one of them looks at the 44 kilogram kettlebell trying to do like single arm rows. I'm like, hey man, remember that's in kilograms, not pounds. Like, be careful what you're gonna do. Oh yeah, I forgot
the
about
fact that they
one.
would, I mean, that a 44 kilo kettlebell that has some girth to it. Like,
it does.
Oh yeah.
Who thinks that that's gonna weigh 44 pounds?
Right. Yeah, we've got team builder, and we're trying to get VBT in our weight room right now. And it's so funny every day when I put the iPads up, open up Team Builder, get the weight room view kind of set on there. Yeah. There's always a tab that's got calculator on it. And it's just every time you go by, I mean, the kids they added the tab themselves, and they know now, like they go in, they put 45 or whatever weight Team Builder tells them. They go in, subtract 45, and then divide it by 2 on what they got to put on each side.
All right, so everybody here, you're all in the professional, you're all in the PDG, all right? And I've had a lot of different conversations with high school strength coaches, mainly this year, but for the last 2-3 years hosting this show. And off air, not publicly, but coaches have said different things to me, like, why help out and why donate your time? You guys are donating your time. There's no financial benefit to this. The NSCA doesn't have any current practicing high school strength coaches that they know of working at HQ. So to them, what's the case for getting involved when it takes long for things to get done? It seems like their voice isn't going to get heard. They already feel like they're bumping their head against the wall. Like I said, this is their words, not mine, from a bunch of different people, from a bunch of different perspectives. What do you guys say to that as people that are spending their time and are trying to make change?
Yeah, I look at it this way, right? The NSCA, it's a membership organization, right? So for us, we are trying to find out and understand what do our members need in that day-to-day practice. I think that's where the PDGs come into play, right? And you look at the college PDG, the high school PDG, the tactical, personal trainer, whatever, that's our job, right? And along with that, kind of, we've been a part, well, heck, we were a part of the strategic planning a couple years ago when Ian came in. which was awesome. Get out there with the board, sit down, and really have a voice of what we need, in each PDG. And then last year at National, 2 years, the Baltimore one, I think it was, I was able to present to the board.
Powerlift is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for exercise equipment. Made here in the USA, right down the road in the state of Iowa, Powerlift has the ability to customize whatever you need in your room, regardless of the sector of strength and conditioning. If you need a massive, big room, they have the ability to help you with that. If you're confined with space and you need to get creative, their reps are able to help you get what you need done and being able to get any customizations that you or your organization want with your logo on the equipment. Click the link down below to learn more about Powerlift, and if you have any questions about them, please feel free to reach out to us.
I was able to present to the board, which was fantastic about where the high school is going, and the initiatives that we did. And that the initiative that we had 2 years ago that we did was we created a document that had every state on it, and it had what are their state standards, the national state standards, also the national standards, the state standards, what is the graduation requirements, if they want to get a teaching license, what does that look like? So if you go through the traditional, great. If you need an alternative license, what's that look like? Do they offer an emergency license? And we did that for every state, so that they have access to that. The other thing is and we can get more involved or talk about more of what we're doing this year. But with our involvement in that and being able to have a conversation at the national conference last year, we got to be with the board last year and talk to them about what our needs were in all the PDGs, and then kind of come up with this job description of what the PDGs are for, and then kind of a framework behind it. I think the other thing, going to your question or their question about headquarters not having anybody there, it's kind of crazy. I don't think a lot of people just know this, but a lot of the staff at headquarters still work with the high school. Blake is over with PT. He works in the private sector a lot, but he still works with the high school kids and works with hockey at a local high school. Kevin actually started his career in high school. And there's a private gym up Monument that he still does a lot of work with the high school kids. Eric was with the pro baseball, right? But I don't think a lot of people realize that even there, when they sign the Latin Americans, most of them are getting signed at 15, 16 years old. So they're still working with those kids until they're ready for the big guys. Rebecca Wiley, she's, I think, the education coordinator. She was a teacher for a long time. And Patrick, if I remember right, I think she was even the president of SHAPE Colorado, which is the governing body for PE. SHAPE is. Yes. And then you have Rebecca Carlson, I believe is her name. She's the performance center at the NSCA. She works a lot with the youth rehab side. That's her big forte, is the youth rehab side, but she's also the performance center coordinator out at the NSCA. So to me, that's a big plus for us because they all work in the high school. Eric still does teaching in some of the college, so they have an understanding of what we really need, which then kind of allows us to use them as our liaisons. We get to use them as our liaisons. Like Eric and Kevin are our big liaisons to go to the board. So when you look at what we have available to us, yes, the NSCA has a bunch of resources, but we still have coaches that are in the building that are able to help us get what we need because they know what we're working with and how we go about it, right? And then why getting involved? I mean, you get to, if you think about, okay, what's our next strength conditioning coaches? It's our youth, right? It's the ones we're teaching, right? Are we able to teach them how to become strength and conditioning coaches because they were with us? Just like Tyler became a strength and conditioning coach in high school because why? His high school strength coach, right? So now I'm able to take kids in 7th grade, work with them for 6 years. And when they go to college, hey, maybe that's the degree they want to go in. And let's think about CASCI now, right? You want to be a CSCS, then you better have to have the CASCI accreditation. So if we don't get our kids involved now and teach them how to do it the proper way, then when we're already far behind, especially with looking at the next level or the next generation of strength coaches. So to me, it's getting involved so that we can continue to have strength coaches for the next umpteen years. It's getting them to teach them the reason why, because I think I've said it earlier, or I've said in another podcast, only 6% are going to go to the next level to play. Sport's going to eventually end, right? For everybody. So if we teach them how to do this now, then we're setting them up for success the rest of their life. So that to me is a big reason to get involved. And then, I mean, you get to go to conferences, right? You get to go to these conferences and interact with other coaches. You know, I mean, I sat down with Patrick. Where was that? It was I can't remember which of the 2 years ago or last year, whatever it was, at coaches conference. We sat down and talked for 35, 40 minutes. New Orleans, yeah. 35, 40 minutes on tactical in high school, and then curriculum development. He's built tons of curriculums based, throughout his life with the high school, and then now building one with the tactical, and then helping us now with this big initiative that we got now. So you're just raising the next generation of strength coaches in my mind.
If I can pick on Jim and Rick Howard, how many different countries have you guys been to? Because, right? Okay. And when I say that, because they've literally gone international and presented around the world. Rick goes up to Iceland all the time. Why? Because he started volunteering, gets on a committee, people start to meet him, he starts speaking at a conference. Wow, you hear this Rick Howard guy speak? Yeah, hey, maybe we need him at this conference. And same thing with Jim. And they presented at regional state conferences, and then they go to regional conferences, then national conferences. And all of a sudden then, hey, we need some people to go to other countries. Or, hey, we need somebody to help write a chapter in this book. And then it's, oh, you know what? Instead of writing the chapter, why don't you be the editor? Or Shape America, hey, we needed a chapter for strength and conditioning. So it started out volunteering, and then it grows, little speaking positions here, gets a little bit bigger, and then the next level, then the next level. And all of a sudden, I hate to say it, but 90% of my travel has been through the NSCA because I volunteered when I was younger, built it up, and then I got to start going to all these different places and speaking and writing and having fun, doing the things that I enjoy. Jim, how much travel have you done?
Well, I'm as far as internationally, I'm living vicariously through Rick Howard and Dr. Avery Feigenbaum, who I've done research. I'll just keeping it here in the good old US of A. But I had the opportunity to actually present in Central Washington University with a bunch of college strength and conditioning coaches association members, and they're a part of their certification staff too. And being able to present while Jimmy Radcliffe was taking notes was probably one of my apexes. I want to say that with this volunteerism, probably came the best 10 years of coaching in my last 10 years as a strength coach, because I felt comfortable with talking about physical literacy. To take that small group of health and physical education standards that really touch on so many other ones, and be able to blow that up and say, it's not just technique for specific exercises. We're actually delving into 5 or 6 different competencies, what possible dysfunctions are, how that's hooked up with the vestibular system. We really do teach STEM classes every day. And knowing that my kids would come in and be able to go through their own warm up, and I could walk around the room and I could confer with them about how their day was and how that warm up is going, how we can adjust their program, and all the way through to the end of the workout, what was part of that best 10 years. And I'm thankful that I was able to have those experiences, writing those articles with Dr. Avery Feigenbaum, doing that action research, what was actually happening in the weight room with the youth, add to the youth exercise science research pool. What was amazing, and be able to share those type of things and hear other things that other people were doing, bringing it here.
Vitruve is the trusted VBT source for Strength Coach Network, and I have been utilizing this for years at Goldfinch, and I'm going to continue to utilize it because the great price for the encoder, as well as the accuracy with the data. Whether I'm measuring average, peak, or any other metric, if I want to include range of motion, fatigue loss during the set, intra-set, whatever it is, I can trust Vitruve. And they are continuing to push the needle and continuing to educate coaches on best practices within the VBT world. Not only do they live in that VBT world, but now they've come out with their new hub. And if you want to learn more about the hub and how it can help you with all of your athletes that you are working with, as we are starting to do this at Goldfinch for our middle school all the way up to college athletes, check them out in the link down below.
Know that we have to come up with some great tools from this identification of curriculum standards and outcomes and what we could help teachers do with them when it comes to writing their own local curriculum. So we could do more of that in schools because it's more challenging than ever. We have less teachers to pull from, less teachers who have had this exposure in college because we know what happens in college. Everything else becomes more important. And then there's certain aspects in physical education that get dropped, like exercise science-based classes and technique. And they don't get that opportunity until master's courses study. Even in exercise science, the practical exposure is held to a minimum. So, they have to look to their grad assistantships to get that experience. So CASCI's doing their job. The CERT groups, the reviewers are all doing their jobs to make sure that we can forge ahead more productively.
I guess I would ask them a simple question like what you said first would be like, if not us, then who? I mean, what are those people doing to help like strength and conditioning across the board? I mean, NSCA is so big, like it's going to be kind of slow, but like if we can slowly help other strength coaches around the nation and make an impact with them, that makes all the difference. Like Jim just said, like people don't realize a lot of these high school strength coaches, a lot of these people are just PE teachers. A lot of them don't have the background in strength and conditioning. So like us giving resources for them to be able to have some knowledge base on strength and conditioning makes all the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this out, kind of what Tyler just said, a lot of them don't have that strength conditioning background, which I'm just going to throw this out there. Like what we're working on right now, like our big initiative is we're creating a K through 12 curriculum, right? So how is that going to look, right? So looking at every national standard, breaking that down, being able to give these teachers the standards that what they're trying, the standard for their lesson, that what that can fill in, what are the learning indicators, what are their assessments they can do.
That's a big job, man.
It is, and lesson plans and resources behind this, and so basically when a PE teacher takes a strength conditioning class from K through 12, they can build a true long-term athletic development model all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. So when they leave, they're primed and ready to go. But I mean, that's the big initiative that we're working on right now. So that, the way I look at it is a teacher could take it and go, I need a lesson plan or lesson, and they could pick this one, and fill it in and have a full lesson plan ready to go that they can end up taking to their administration or their school board and have a full strength conditioning curriculum that's backed by the NSCA, that has individuals that have how many years of education behind them, that have how many years of strength conditioning behind them, and build a program that can fit what the kids need.
So like if somebody was hearing that, they're like, all right, they could literally, it's week 3, like if there's a substitute teacher and they needed to know, hey, we're in week 3, day 5, and we're in the progression of teaching posterior chain movements. Hey, you're breaking up every posterior chain movement, hip dominant, knee dominant, unilateral, bilateral, talking about all the different, like glue, all the muscle. How in the weeds are you getting?
Well, basically looking at a system where, like in the elementary system, right? What is the difference between a hop, a skip, a jump, a leap? Keeping it very basic in the elementary, broad. When we get to the middle, kind of getting a little bit more specific with the movement patterns and the lifting and that kind of stuff. And then the high school being pretty specific, being able to break down, this is a squat, a clean, a snatch, all this, looking at different muscles, looking at whatever. So we're still in the early stages of building this. A lot that still needs to get done, but it'll be a deal where, like you said, somebody could come in and go, okay, we're on week 3. Here's the unit that we're in. You can look at that. Here's the standards that can go with that. Here's the assessments that can go with that, formative and summative assessments, and really kind of help a teacher really just push through the lesson and understand the lesson, get the kids to understand what exactly needs to get done.
Giving anybody a little bit of time if they want to chime in on that one. Otherwise, I got some questions about some core pillars or systems that are non-negotiable for running a good high school strength and conditioning room.
All right, core pillars. To me, it's the standards. Right? What are your standards? Because what you allow is ultimately is going to become your standards. I forget who had said this? I heard this one time. It was like the floor is the standard, but the expectation is the ceiling, right? So you need to reach for the ceilings. Like for us at Ezell Hardin, like we have this motto, kind of this 111% mindset, where like we talk about, the kids. I want 1% better. We always hear I want 100%. I want 110. Cool. Give me 1% better. Give me 111%. That may look different day to day, but I still need your best. So for me, it's really setting the standard and having the kids understand what that standard is and holding them to that standard. I think especially in today's world that gets lost. So the coaches that have, in my mind and what I've seen, truly successful programs are holding kids to the standard no matter what.
Like, it starts with us. Like, I completely agree with Justin says. Like, if I say, hey guys, I want high intensity, I want us to be intentional, but I walk in every day like a slug, like I'd rather be anywhere else, like I'm not even following through with my part. So I got to do my part and be high energy and ask what they want. Like, what I tell them, I got to be the same. Like, if I'm telling you, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to be high energy, like I have to be that in return. Like, everyone has like the same standards, so to speak. Like, most people say the same things, but not all the coaches hold people to that, what they say. Like, you go to multiple different high schools and they're going to say about the same stuff. Okay, let's give effort, let's dress this way, let's do this. But then the difference is the ones that win actually hold them to that, and the ones that don't. So it's really honestly, in my opinion, about that simple. Like, if you want a good team, you got to be a high energy coach and bring it every day. If you don't, then you can be sluggish. Your whole team's going to feed off you, especially as a strength coach. Everyone feeds off the strength coach. I mean, he is the most important person on the team. He sees the athletes more than anyone else. And if he walks in like he'd rather be anywhere else, then the athletes are going to be completely zoned out.
Yeah, I get my kids every day, especially my kids in first period, just every day I got the same energy, same attitude, and like Tyler said, like if you don't have that, the kids know it. They 100% know it. They feed off of that. And if you come in sluggish, they're gonna eat you alive. Like that's the one downside to it. I was out for, would have been 2 days, but we had a snow day. But I had bronchitis. I came back, I'm still coughing up a lung, all these things. We're beginning our max outs, and I'm using my microphone a little bit more in the weight room than what I usually like to do. But when we get into our testing, and for me, the kids know it when we get to max outs. Like they know how much more excited I get just running and yelling and screaming. And now, all these kids that they get so uncomfortable when people yell that they know now if Coach T's yelling, they know something big's happening, and they all start feeding off of it, and my kids in first hour, they always say, how do you bring so much energy in first hour? I said, I'm going to tell you this. I said, I got to have this energy every day. Otherwise, you're not going to believe me. You're not going to want to do this stuff every day. I said, but also, I love what I do. I said, I'm excited to come in here every single day. I'm ready to yell. I said, plus you got to remember, I'm a coach. I am Italian. We always talk loud. So those things are going to happen. Yes, I said, I always talk with my hands. I said, you guys know this stuff. And they feed off of it. Today we had kids, and now they understand what the culture is. That from my perspective, I don't care if you are athlete, non-athlete, male, female, freshman through senior. They know that every kid, I'm going to take time, work with them, do all these things. And today we were testing, and I had 2 football players come up to this sophomore, first semester ever taking the class, and they come up to him while we're doing max outs, and those guys don't hesitate to stop their max outs, go up and motivate, cheer, spot, do all these things, and just they feed off of it now. They know what the expectation is, and you better make sure you're bringing it every day, because the moment you let it down, that's immediately when you start losing them.
Yeah,
I think there's an important quote that I've heard. I can't remember where I heard it from. Is don't be a thermometer, right? Don't just read a room and read the temperature. Be a thermostat to where you set the temperature in that room. And I think it goes to like one of our foundations here is actions. What does your actions say about you? Anyone can say, "Well, I want to win XYZ game. I want to win state. I want to do this. I want to do that," and that's great. But what are our actions doing to achieve that goal? And that's one thing that I've tried to preach to our kids, and I think it's a testament to a lot of our programs is that our actions back up what we're doing. And I think as strength and conditioning coaches, I heard this one phrase of strength coaches can't be weak, right? If we're not eating at our own table, that's a testament to our programs or ourselves, our self respect. So actions, I think, is a big part of what we do and a big part of any of our programs.
So
How
you're
about on the
saying
flip
if you
side?
don't, so if you're saying that if you don't lift, you're not a strength coach, correct? Like I've heard that one
I
before.
say you have to be. I think you have to have a fitness lifestyle in some shape, way, or form. You don't have to squat 500 pounds. Is it cool? Absolutely. But also, like at the same time, your resting heart rate shouldn't be like in the hundreds either. So I mean, it's. I think it's double sided. I enjoy lifting, and I think that's why a lot of us got into this because we enjoy the performance side, we enjoy the strength and conditioning side of it. But also
Amen,
too, I
John
know
Mark.
a lot of other people too who run miles, and they're great strength coaches.
Yeah, because it's strength and conditioning. And like you said, if you don't know, like, hey, like you said, I'm not a 500, 600 pound squatter. It's like, okay, well, you have to be a 600 pound squatter to coach somebody to be well, what happens if you get hurt and you now no longer can do that? Do you not, like, how long ago was it? But you still need to kind of know under the bar, like, okay, this is what 90% feels like. And that's why it's really only 3 to 5 reps, or it's within this velocity range, or hey, this is when it's really hard to lift after having practice because I was out on the field changing direction, and just understanding all the things. So yeah, like having some version of some skin in the game, I think that definitely does, because it helps. I mean, you want to talk about athlete buy-in too, like let the athletes walk in and see you lifting, or with your, Lord forbid if it's with other colleagues or whatnot, they'll be like, hey, Coach Jim's getting after it. Like, it don't even matter. Like, sure, he's ripping 405 on RDLs, but like, look at him go.
Going for 6 or 7.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
No, I'm with you guys. Like, I think it's about standards, right? I heard once, like, you get two things at all times. You get what you emphasize and you get what you tolerate. So, holding the kids to a high standard, and even to your point, it's about the relationships, right? And then understanding the kids. So, like, to your point, if they come in after practice, you have to understand that, their 90% today may not look like the 90% that you wrote down, and have that understanding that to accommodate to what's in front of you. I think that's important as well, and just having those standards in place.
When I heard this question, I thought about how important mission and vision is, and how in that vision, the one that I've seen most recently and used, that had identified 3 different fitness levels that we can tier in our programming, and how far they go each day or that week in that program. It depends on their tier. And knowing that the principles that we have are simple, they're 3. One, optimal posture in everything you do. How important posture integrity is, not only in training dysfunctions, but for a lifetime. And the second one is always explore the effort needed to reach your goals. So when you think about those things that you guys were just talking about, exploring effort, there's so many different lessons that so many different snapshots, teachable moments that we could talk about effort.
Dasher Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for timing gates for your athletes. Whether you're trying to run A-cells, curve, flies, change in direction with the Pro Agility, the 505, modified 505, whatever you want to do, get valid and reliable setup with your Dasher. I had the black, the blue, and now we have the silver at Goldfinch. We're completely moving over from the blues to just only having the silvers. I only test my athletes on the silvers because it has helped me save so much time, whether I'm going from Ankeny over to Nevada or Ankeny over to Huxley, whatever I got to do. I save so much time, and I want you to be able to save so much time with your setup, because we know that time is precious as strength coaches. Now, not only are you going to be able to save time, but you're going to be able to save money with this great product, and you have a valid and reliable product that has run through through countless different articles as you continue to see online being published with the accuracy of this information. So, if you want to learn more about Dasher, click the link down below to be able to go to their website and learn more about them.
There's so many different types of assessments that we can use. Your daily workout can be an assessment tool. Your warm-up is an assessment tool each day.
Yes, it is.
And that's important for us because if that warm-up doesn't go well, there's adjustments to be made. There's interventions to be had. If that first and second set doesn't go well, let's look to that third. That third set's going to tell us how sets 4 and 5 is going to go. And if set 3 doesn't go real well, we're going to interventions. So, that second principle effort, it's so beneficial as a teaching moment tool. And the last one is understand the whys of what we're doing. So when we look at this whole idea of physical literacy, then their experiences each day, I think about the 10 pillars of long-term athletic development. You guys are all familiar with what those graphics look like and how it's important that we understand how we grow and evolve over time and how important things are when programming to understand growth and maturation and timing when it comes to the age groups. Being able to motivate people to stay on their fitness programs, being able to track performance and fitness levels, all those things are threaded in there, but it basically is broken down to is 3 things. And it's allowing people to explore their fitness. And we're guiding them through that as strength coaches. Whether it's sport readiness, whether it's fitness level, whether it's lifelong fitness for you to be able to participate in recreational things that you like to do, it's a life journey. And we're talking about curriculum and eventually tools to be able to help people do lesson planning and things like that. This is a big endeavor, but it's a valuable one.
We've talked culture. We've talked about, doing things the right way. To each of you, what does the word culture mean? And then what are practical ways that you've seen culture reinforced daily, not just talked about, but actually reinforced inside the weight room?
Yeah, I think that to me, like culture is everything. It's the environment that you're building to me, right? And how you reinforce that. I think it comes down to the daily actions, right? What's the goal? What's the actions, the daily actions that you're practicing, which is to me is ultimately then going to be your standards or your culture, right? In the sense of how hard the kids work, what they're doing, the relationships you're building with the kids. Like, to me, when you have a really successful culture, kids are coming to you just to talk. Kids are coming to you and telling you their problems, right? Kids are coming to you for advice. So to me, culture is literally the environment that you're building. What was the second part of that question?
How is it reinforced daily, not just talk, right? Because you see it happening right now. So anybody for context that are listening, I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but it's the first full week of December. You got all these new head football coaches getting hired, and typically we're going to do this, and they say this, and they say the word culture, and it's buzzword. But then you go and talk to the strength staff, like, that coach doesn't even know what goes on in here. That coach doesn't actually know, and it's all just hogwash. So and I'll tee it up with at Iowa, and then what I utilized with me at Towson and everything else is culture is your actions times your behaviors. And then we added from extreme ownership, put in parentheses, actions times behavior, right? And then outside of that, all right, what we talk about, what we say we're going to do and what we do minus what we tolerate. Because if we say we're going to do this and we act this way, but then we start tolerating bad behavior, we're not that. That was our math equation for culture. And we had to live it every single day. That was just who the team was. We had to emphasize that. And then even at Towson, guys were very much wanting to lift more weight, try to move the bar faster. And it was constantly trying to make sure that we weren't tolerating BS. So within that, how have you seen it reinforced and not just, lip service, which like we've all talked about, kind of blue collar people, work, We hate that. We don't want to see mixed, I say this, but I do this.
Yeah, I think you said it earlier. Jonmarc said it earlier. Are you living that lifestyle too as the coach? I think for me, my day starts at 2:50 in the morning, right? If I'm not working out by 3:30, I don't get a chance to work out. right? So to me, I get up every morning at 2:50. I'm working out by 3:30. I have to leave the house by 5:30. I get to school. I've got administrators that are coming in to lift, or I've got kids coming in to make workouts up. I teach all day, and then I've got a couple personal training clients until 4 or 5, or I do a teacher parent workout from 3 to 4 on a couple days, and then I get home and my son's got wrestling practice or baseball practice or heck, I want to hang out with the family. Yeah. Right. So are you living the life that you're talking about? Yeah. And the kids see you do that, and the kids know that. I'll tell you what, I think that does go a long way.
Coach, thanks for being up half an hour after your bedtime.
It's creeping up on mine too. No, I don't go to bed. I don't go to bed till 8:30 Central. Sometimes not if I get spicy.
You brought up some key components when thinking about the performance piece that you mentioned. I thought of Brian Cain's model. We saw how important it was to have a leadership program in our school, because when we examined that performance model that Brian Cain put out, leadership is a very important part of your culture. So how do you breed that? How do you grow that? You start talking about those two aspects, building relationships, and what you have to do as a good leader to build relationships and get results. And you talk about the accountability involved with that. And then you start thinking about the culture. How do you convey those things? Well, it's a set group of principles. And then how do you have as many leaders as possible being able to reinforce those principles? And then you start talking about behaviors. Where's the line? Above the line or below the line? And then how many leaders do you have that are reinforcing the principles and then holding people accountable for their responses to your environment? That's your behavior. That behavior is above or below the line. So you start putting standards out there. So, I think we do that as strength coaches a lot, because when we hit the ground running, we are building relationships each day. We do care about those kids. Results are what drives our programming and the evolution of our programming. And our principles, if they need to be changed, we're going to change them. We're going to enhance them. We're going to grow them, or we're going to cut them down. So it's one of those types of things. So thank you, Brian Cain, for that.
I always like what you permit, you promote. If you're going to let the kids screw around, then you're promoting that. If you're going to hold them to the standard, then they understand that, what are your expectations? I'm going to pull the old man strength card out that, there you go.
Boom.
Yep. That you don't have to lift a ton of weight, just do something and the kids know that you're willing to, hey, you need to partner, great. I'll spot you, or I'll jump in there and help you out if you need it. And once you start doing that, they see that you're serious about it, and they'll take it serious.
I actually spoke with a buddy of mine who's a head strength coach head strength coach at a high school about 30 minutes away from me. And he's like, yeah, it's always good when you can take the kids into the deep end and show them like, hey, this is what it really, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to do a little bit of lactate suck, or we're going to do a little bit of something, energy system development, true max effort work. And it's like, no, come with me to the deep end. Let me show you what it's really like to A, get you ready for college, but B, show you that coach has it a little bit, like you said, has some skin in the game, but then just to show them like, hey, this is what else is out there. And sometimes your opponents might be doing this. As a PDG, what do you all believe the high school population needs most from strength coaches that the profession still tends to overlook or undervalue?
Oh man, I think this is a funny question in the sense of they're high school kids, they're middle school kids. Teach them basics. Yeah. Stick to the basics, right? I mean, get them strong.
You don't think they need the oscillatory, in a disadvantageous position?
Look, I've got classes of 40 kids. I've had classes up to 60 kids by myself. Look, I need them to be able to move extremely well, right? And I don't remember who said it, but don't load dysfunction. If it looks like
for sure said that. I don't know if he's the one that originated it, but it is all over his book. Yeah.
But I mean, I see too many coaches that want the next fancy things. I want to see my kids. Can you move a barbell really well? I mean, I got a little 6-year-old son that, in my mind, I've seen better hang cleans from than a lot of other people.
That's legit. I'm here to tell you.
Kids hang cleaning? You're savage.
Yeah. Look
effortless.
at my Instagram. You'll see it looks pretty good.
He's
I'm not
throwing
gonna
a ball. He's throwing a ball with that.
lie.
Easy.
You know,
Easy peasy.
but to me, it's moving well, you know, and I think that, you know, I think it was Coach Schofield said, move well, move strong, move fast. Or I think that's what the NHSSCA too. But like, to me, it's that move well so you can move strong so you can move fast then. Right. But too many times, like, just get them really good at moving extremely well. Because once they're, you know, if they start loading dysfunction or they're loading the bar and they can't move well, you get another bunch of problems that you got to deal with. Right?
I know you all will be able to relate to this, and any of our listeners that work in college, maybe working with freshmen. I mean, if you don't know how to teach an RDL to a novice athlete, it's harder than teaching the squat.
Mm-hmm.
I teach it to a seventh grader.
That's what I'm saying. I know, like,
yeah.
We all have our little progressions, and we're all like, you instantly went there like, well, wait a minute, this is the way. Like, listen, we all know how to get it done. But I'm saying to some of the strength coaches listening, you haven't had to do it. And so that's why we're all saying, like, you do need those very basics. You don't need to be going band assisted, hand supported, anything. You need to teach them how to do this.
You know, and
why
like,
is it that in every other country in the world, the best coaches work with the youngest kids?
Ooh.
Because they need the most help. Because once you start learning these patterns, and if you look at some of the research by Dr. Mel Siff and Kramer and Stone, they talk about if you teach it wrong or incorrectly when they're younger and they learn that pattern, you can make corrections, but they're never going to perfect it. Yet, on the other hand, if you teach it correctly, you'll be able to build. So, but look in our country, who works with our youth? Volunteer parents, which are great, and we need that. But yet in every other country in the world, what do? Their best coaches are working with the youngest kids because they need the most help. These gentlemen are the best, and they're working with the youngest kids. And that's why the best athletes when they go to college, because of people like these guys.
Yeah.
What honestly helps us the most, though, is when we get the class or the athletic team that is the least athletic. Then you get to realize how good of a coach you are. If you can coach people that are really, really unathletic and really bad at moving, then you're a pretty good coach. So some of the worst teams I've ever worked with, in like athletic ability, you really get better at coaching.
Player Data is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for GPS technology, and it's simple. The price you cannot beat, and the validity and accuracy of their technology is second to none. The price is outstanding. Go ahead and reach out to them to learn more about the pricing specific to you and however many units you're going to get. And then the validity. Player Data has been tested and run through FIFA's validation process for FIFA to then be utilizing Player Data technology. FIFA, we all know that name. They would not be utilizing a product that cannot live up to the competition and cannot be able to provide real, live, and accurate data. Player Data is able to do this. Not only do they have great software and hardware, but I know that the customer service is fantastic because I have worked with these individuals before. Click the link down below to learn more about Player Data.
Like, it's not the teams that can jump through the ceiling that you really learn how to coach, because you can tell them how to do it once and they're probably going to do it right. It's the ones that don't know how to move and can't move, or genetically dispositioned to not be able to move in that way, that you really learn how good of a coach you are, and you really grow as a coach.
Yeah, I think
you
the one go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you really want a good challenge. Go to your middle school track coach and ask them to bring in the middle school track team. And when you look at the 6th grade cross country team, that anybody who's ever trained cross country, you know that it is tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings, weak ankles. No. And then you get 6th grade versions of that. Not your high schoolers. You get your 6th grade versions, and you go through that first workout. You're like, "Oh, it's going to be a long next couple weeks. We got a lot of work to do." And you just try to talk about a hip hinge, or you just try to talk about foot placement on a squat, and you get kids that are doing the squat or the splits. You got kids that are they look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame when they go down for an RDL, and you're like, "All right, we will get through this." Like, those kids over there used to look just like you guys. I said, look what they're doing now. I said, so don't freak out, week 1 when you don't have everything down pat. I said, this isn't something that you just learn overnight, that this is, that you are still learning this. I said, even me at 38 years old, I said, I'm still learning things every single day on how to perfect and how to work and how to do these things. I said, if this stuff was easy, if this thing was just an overnight turn, I said, everybody would be doing it. I said, and they're not. I said, if it was easy, everyone would. But you are the ones that are here trying to do this stuff. It's going to take time.
For some of you strength coaches that are wondering what those basics might be, we're talking about a lunge, a squat variation, a hip hinge, a brace of support, a rotate or anti-rotation exercise, a hip hinge. Did I say hip hinge? And to show how important the foundations are, I had a chance to work with Dr. Bill Kramer a little bit and how he evolved and some of the positive messages that we could get out as far as programming from his work. And it was do 3 of those foundational movements, 3 sets of 12 repetitions before you do your major lift. Now, you got a big squat day coming up. You know you got 5 to 7 sets, and you have to do 3 exercises in a circuit. 3 sets, 12 repetitions. You don't want to waste your energy on that, do you? But what Dr. Kramer says, we don't warm up enough. Those foundational movements allow us to explore some possible dysfunction, allow us to realize how our body has been responding to training in the last week. It's going to get us ready for that squat that you want to have that optimal performance in that day. So foundational movements, very, very important.
Yeah.
What to anybody that's listening to this is like, all right, wait a minute. I only got 40 minutes to train my athletes.
Takes 12 to 15 minutes to do that circuit. Well worth the time spent. Plus you get the joint mobility, stability work done during that. Let's say on that specific day, you have both squat and bench coming up. That 12 minutes is so well spent because you have 2 things happening there. You have 1, an assessment tool, and 2, an activation tool. Because when you're going to do your 3 sets of push-up pauses down, 1, 2, 3, up and back down for 3 sets of 12 repetitions, that 250-pound bench press that your rack number 2 athlete is going to try and do today is either going to embrace that or it's going to challenge him. If it's going to challenge him, if that's going to challenge his joint stability, then he's at a level of fitness that needs work, because that should have been a warm-up for that 250-pound bench. Because we've had those sets challenge people at 315 and 360 pounds, and their fitness level is low. What should they be benching if that assessment tool, 3-second pauses, 3 sets of 12, is going to crush them that day? So that's the point I'm trying to get across.
Oh yeah, no, I just meant like, okay, you have because some of them have, that limited in-season time, and I guess that's where you would just caveat it with, hey, you're not going to be doing 5 to 7 sets of squat in season of working sets. Maybe
No. That would drop down to 3 sets out of the 5 for your in-season work. That changes the percentage.
Jesse, I think you were about to say something before I intervened.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say I kind of agree with these guys. I think it's about being good at the fundamentals, learning posture control, and then I think the mistake some coaches make is I think they try to rush the process too soon. I think they see what some of these advanced athletes are doing online, and they instantly want to apply that in their setting, and without the context that is a very maybe gifted athlete that needs something very specific to continue to drive adaptation. And right now, just getting into full range of motion is going to be more beneficial than, like you kind of mentioned, some of the jump training with the bands and different things like that. So
I think it's important as a coach to be yourself, though, isn't it? I mean, like, it's important to be your own character. Like, a lot of these coaches and a lot of coaches listening might want to fall into the whole of, like, trying to find a program someone else did or trying to be something that they've seen, like other strength coach. Oh, I saw that guy, I'm going to try to be like him. But the most successful strength coaches are all ones that are kind of their own character and that kind of be who they are. Like, you can get really good at strength and conditioning when you know who you are. If you're a yeller, then go yell. If you're not, then don't try to be something you're not. Be your own character, and you can get really good once you know who you are and what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, if Andrew's not allowed to just yell incoherent Italian words at people, and I'm saying that, I mean that with the most amount of love, because Mike Wodango in a group chat, Kier used to put when Mike would say something, he'd put a meme of incoherent Italian words. So.
With all due respect, okay.
Get him out of here. Go on.
Congealy.
How do you all then handle individualization though? Individualization needs when there are still some of those like, okay, we got to address the foundational stuff, but I got some kids that need something a little bit different that actually they are different. They are better. How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna say in education where differentiated instruction comes into play, right? Like what I mean by that is every kid's going to be unique in a sense. So like for us, like where I teach, I'm meeting them where they're at, right? So what I mean by that is my 7th and 8th graders are my foundations, my block 0, right? And it's really just movement patterns, right? Can you do the basic hinge, squat, push, pull, carry, crawl, all that good stuff? And then my block 1 is really going to be my high school kids, but it's really geared towards strength and hypertrophy. And then my block 2 kids, which are my older kids, and they've showed the maturity level, they've done what they needed to, they're really strength and power. Now, we'll hit every aspect of it throughout our periodization stuff, but some kids, you know what? Hey, coach, this hurts to front squat. Okay, can we hit a different type of squat that day? Can we goblet squat? Can we, I don't know, still front squat, but use straps to hold it up because my wrist is hurting. What do I need to do? You're just changing little things that help them. I mean, it's to me in the high school setting, I need them just to do extremely well at the basic patterns. When they get to college, hey, you guys can take them from there and put your little fine tuning stuff on. But if I can get a kid to go to college and move really well already, that makes your job as the college coach so much easier.
Yeah, but even at that, I think anybody listening, don't be lost in the simplicity of what Justin just said right there, because that's what expert people do. Coaches, technicians, electricians, bankers, whatever. They can make things simple. And he's like, that is an individualization. We don't have to make every single individualization based upon, Loudon needs more. He's a pitcher, so his lift has to be completely different than Jim's, who plays first base, and Jesse plays third base. Like, it doesn't have to get that complex. And I think when we start hearing that or thinking that, that's when we realize, like, no, an individualization could be something like he said there. Hey, how do we adjust the position for you based on your physical limitations? Or like you had said before, maybe it is just a goblet versus a front rack. But you have to know your progressions and regressions. And he could only say that because he had put in the hours to understand what is a progression and a regression. He said the word block 0. So he had read stuff from Joe Ken and understanding, like, I'm rambling on for them to really grasp the idea of you got to do your own homework and you can't try to rush understanding your own education.
Exactly.
Good point.
I talked to Sam Melendrez a while ago when I was living out in Colorado. I mean, he was a big mentor of mine, and we were talking about football lifts and this and that. He goes, "What makes it football? Put a helmet on him, have him go squat." Yeah, 100% makes sense to me, right? Like, and I think Buddy Morris said, he's never put a squat rack out in the middle of a football field. Right.
I used to say that to the recruits all the time. It'd be really funny to see because I'd tee it up and be like, "Hey, forgive me, I'm not familiar with the academic or the high school association rules of where you're from. Refresh my memory. Is it before halftime, after halftime that they pull the rack out for everybody to have the big lift-a-thon?" And they look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's because you don't do that. You're here to play football, and then you have to lift in addition to that."
To that part, right? Meeting the kids where they're at. In the public schools, and even where I'm at the private school, I've never had a class where it's just football. It's just basketball. I've had classes that are 40, 50, 60 kids, and it's boys, girls, athletes for sure, non-athletes. You name it, right? My first school I was at, I had a class. This is interesting. I had a class, 49 kids, and I had 7 severely special needs kids in the class. How do you work that out, right? I had no para. I had no
para. Oh, I was about to ask.
It was me, right? So how do you go about that? Well, fortunate enough, we had machines, right? And I was able to walk around the room, make sure I know where they're at. But, it's that kind of stuff where as a coach, you learn really quick basics, and that's where I link about what's the regressions? What's the progressions that we can use? How can I differentiate this to this to this? I mean, I had to put poly spots out and tell a kid, this is your spot. This is your area. Nobody can come in your area. And that's what it was. He would go in there and quick little circuit. He was good, right? But that's the things that most people, most strength coaches don't see in the public school settings or the school setting, the differentiating that you have to do to meet the kids' needs.
See, and that's why that's why a lot like what we've talked about is just the schools needing these certified strength coaches, but also needing people that have that teaching background to it. You know, these schools that just have like the PE teacher, I'm not knocking them. There's a lot of good strength coaches out there that are just PE teachers that they don't have their CSCS, but they know and understand everything that's within a CSCS, everything with an exercise science degree. You know, but you get some of these schools where you get these coaches that just, what do I do for this sport? What do I do for this sport? What do I do for this sport? And I'm like, you know, one of my first jobs I ever had, there was just so many coaches that wanted sport specific, sport specific, sport specific. And I'm like, all right,
That
here.
helmet on.
Yeah, exactly. You put the helmet on, let's go squat. But I think back to Joe Ken when I heard him speak at Cincinnati. I want to say it was like 2016, whenever they celebrated the Hammer Strength 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary of the Hammer Strength clinics. He said, forget well, he used other words. I'll keep it PG. He used other words, but he basically was like, forget this, sport specific crap. He was like, why don't we look at just athletic based movements? And a lot of my philosophy has kind of come along that to where when I talk to the coaches, I'm like, all right, after school, tomorrow I'm going to have high school track, baseball, softball. All three of them are going to be lifted. And when I talk with those coaches, I'm like, look, there's going to be some athletes that need this, some athletes that need this. I said, but when I look at baseball, softball, they obviously need rotational work. They need shoulder work. They need tricep work. But I can also take all that shoulder work that they necessarily need, and I can tie that to what our swimmers are going to need, what our volleyball players are going to need.
Good point, Coach.
You look at soccer players, they always have ACL and ankle problems. Well, I'm going to tell you this right from the start. Every high schooler has ACL and ankle problems. None of you will never go into like a YMCA and see kids in there trying to do RDLs or doing Nordic hamstring curls. They're going to be in front of a mirror doing bicep curls. They're going to be doing planks. They're going to be doing bench press. That is their workout. And so talking to these, some of our coaches, it's like, look, every kid needs ankle work. We're going to do a lot of single leg work. We're going to do some Bosu ball work. I said, but when we look at sport specific, let's not focus on that. Let's look at what movements are needed for that sport. And when we have other athletes in the class that are involved with those same exact athletic movements, now we can incorporate it with our entire class. So now your 40-minute class that you've got to get these athletes done, bam, you've got something that's going to hit a little bit of everything from every single little sport, not just purely focusing on one, but we're able to tie it in for everybody. Now your entire class, your culture, your program, everything's being built about everybody working unified. I think is what Gary Schofield, when you mentioned him, that's his main thing. It's a unified program.
Well said. I feel like it should almost says sport specific being more like athletic specific, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, for me, I tell our athletes, we may have our base program in front of us, and I tell them that it's base. Doesn't mean that everybody's doing everything that's written verbatim. There might be progressions or regressions all along the way. It really is based off of where the athlete's at.
And when I first started at my school here, everyone was on a sports specific program to where, hey, baseball did this lift, football did this lift. When I got here, it was different than what the kids were used to, was because, I look at it as individual needs, right? Can we look at a kid that can't squat? Okay, they're probably going to regress down to a goblet or a kettlebell squat. And I don't know if I don't like the term sports specific for that reasoning, but I like the term of like we're chasing athleticism. I think that's the foundation of of this whole conversation really is every athlete is chasing athleticism, and where are we meeting these kids to chase that goal? Because it's like going to a classroom and telling an algebra teacher to teach calculus, geometry, and algebra to the same group of students. Because every student is going to be different. Every student, knowledge-wise, it makes sense in education, it's going to be at a different level. It's really not that different for what we do.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a bit of an optimist, and I've been pretty vocal about trying to unify things. So this question comes from the same way that people come and talk to me about CSCCa and NSCA being able to bring things up, and they talk about this privately or even in some behind, executive council meetings that I have within the NSCA. It's been talked about. The split between NHSSCA, NSCA, Jonmarc, Justin, you guys have all kind of talked about those things from all your vantage points. Two different organizations. Is there, someone's even said, is there a realistic pathway for them to collaborate more formally or unify and I don't even know what's best. But again, as an eternal optimist that sees just what is best for strength coaches and gets excited when I see the word strength coach get an official not government, but like USA job title instead of personal trainer. I see all of those things and I want to unify and try to bring things together. So that's where this question comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak for either of the organizations, but I kind of think from my perspective, I think it's much further along than what people realize. I mean, if you look on this call right here, I mean, JM, Jonmarc, he's the state director for Tennessee. I mean, I'm on his advisory board. Right. I was on the advisory board when I was in Colorado. So when I look at these things, I think we are working together. And I think there's people that just don't want to see that, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I know last year, Rick Howard, Gary McAllister, we had put on a clinic up in Kinderdale High School. Coach Joe, the strength coach there, was fortunate. He let us do it, and we had Tobias Jacoby. We had Joe Ken out there, and the beautiful part about it was the NSCA sponsored and the NHSSCA sponsored. So I think we're a lot further along. I think we kind of really are working together and collaborating on different things. It's just may not look the way people want, I guess you could say, but I think realistically we're all in it for the same thing, right? We all want what's best for the kids.
I think that's exactly what he was asking for right there. What was the name of that conference, Coach?
The Play Move Thrive conference that we put on last year.
Have them in every state, Coach, because that really did bring a lot of people together.
That we're working on that right now, right? I think we're working on getting another one together this year. Looking at possibly out in Jim Davis's area, out in Chicago area, possibly, or somewhere else. But that's something that we want to keep going every year. But I think we're a lot further along. I think we are working together. I think it's just the coaches working together, right? Like I think JM and I, this Saturday we have the NHSSCA Family Days. Well, guess what? A lot of them that are out there, they're CSCS. They are NSCA certified. Right. So we're getting together, we're collaborating, we're educating the coaches, we're pushing the profession further along and the professional further along. We're pushing the organizations further along. It's just, I don't know, it just may not be mainstreamed, I guess.
Advocacy for other strength coaches. So you all have it. You all have it. You're doing the thing, and other strength coaches are like, man, I want to do this, but there's no one's hiring, or maybe I can't get hired at a high school. Or I can't get hired at a middle school. What are some of the biggest barriers preventing more schools from hiring full-time certified coaches at the high school level, at the middle school level, or kind of a combo thing like you, Justin, where you're 7 through 12? Are there barriers? And if they are, what have you seen?
Yeah. Teaching license, go get it. I mean, I think about it this way, right? Like if you have a degree in geology, does that allow you to be a lawyer? No, right? You have to go get a law degree, you have to do this. So to me, it's like, yeah, I would love to be able to have a CSCS, but like I talked about, like Andrew said earlier, there's a lot of uniqueness to having that teaching cert and understanding of what actually happens in a school, being able to talk that talk, walk the walk. But having a teaching license is going to get you a lot further at the high school level. Yeah, are there alternative ways to get in there? Sure. You can be the before school, the after school. You can be the guy that comes in because you're brought in from, or the school hires like the
teachers' aides.
Teachers' aides or the hospital setting coaches that come in and they're working in there. Like I know right now in Colorado, that's a big thing where they're outsourcing.
PA, even down in Mississippi.
They're outsourcing. But I think if you become a teacher, you're in, right? And if you start teaching PE, now you can start getting in the weight room and then eventually show your worth in that weight room. So to me, the biggest barrier that I think is still preventing coaches is having the teaching license. And I think there's a lot of value to having a PE teaching license. I mean, I know of a lot of college coaches that come down to the high school sector and don't know how to handle it because you're getting 40, 50, 60 kids at one time, but they're not athletes, right? And I think it was Jacoby who said, when he came down, he looked at his college athletes. His worst athlete in college is now his best athlete that he has.
Facts.
Right? So now how do you go and as a guy coming from the college levels, figure out how to run a weight room with 40, 50, 60, 70 kids in there by yourself, right?
We had 80 at one point up the road.
Yeah.
The whole football team in there lifting, Greg by himself.
Yeah. Like
the NSCA has a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The NSCA has a pamphlet that you can go in and show the AD why you're valuable. So for me, I was hired as a coach, but I was the assistant football coach. So when the coaches were watching film, I'm in the weight room. The football team would give me money. When the basketball team is doing something, I would be in the weight room. The basketball team would give me money. The wrestling coach, I was an assistant with the wrestling team. They would give me money. So I got hired as a teacher. My after school and before school pay came because I was actually a coach for all the different sports. They would give me a little bit of money. I would be in there before school, after school, and that's how I started building the program. And then in the summertime, we would have our summer weightlifting and charging them all and bringing in the teams. And basically, I became part of their staff. So that way it wasn't just, oh, he's the strength coach. Oh, he's the strength coach for our team, and he's helping us out. And it was great because then the coaches would start giving me shirts. The day of the basketball team, if there was a girls' team, I'd wear the girls' shirt. The guys' team, I'd wear the guys' shirt. Wrestling team, whatever. They didn't look at me as the strength coach. They looked at me as I'm an assistant coach with them, and I'm working for all the different teams. So I had to be in the weight room all the time.
That packet that Patrick mentioned has a bunch of information in it, and it's also in PDF form on the NSCA site, promoting strength conditioning professionals at the high school level. Inside is injury prevention information, reduction of liability information. They even give you a sample job description to be able to hand over to the AD. And for all of you out there that are considering alternate route certification and education, there's colleges that are specializing in alternate route right now, and it's taken a year and a half to get through it. And you can be certified in education in specific areas as well. I know Montclair is doing a wonderful job in New Jersey. That one comes to mind right away.
So for any of the young strength coaches, though, that maybe they do, like you're talking to now a strength coach, we're shaping the future generation, and you're talking to a strength coach like, you know what, man, I did get that teaching degree, and I am in college, and you know what, I'm ready to, I'm going to get off the fence and I'm going to go high school. So this question is for them. What are the non-technical skills that a young high school strength coach must develop early in their career?
Listening.
He's back to the 2 ears, 2 eyes.
I am. It's
maybe
listening to the kids, listening to teachers that have been there, listening to administration. But to me, it really comes down to shutting your mouth, paying attention to what's happening.
You sound like Costa Delegatus. Anybody listen to his episode when he talked about going tactical? And he said, I think his line was like, first 90 days, shut up. He's like, after 90 days, then you can have an opinion, but make it short.
But I think there's so much to that, because when you start listening to your students, in my mind, you and really kind of paying attention to everything, you know if it's a good day or a bad day for you. And I think that plays a big picture in your weight room, right? I remember a couple years ago, I had a cheerleader. If she did not come in with holding her cup up here every day, it was a bad day. If it was down here, you're like, what's wrong? Right? Or
Good
you know,
thought,
I had another kid that was born, but he didn't have his forearm. His wrist was at his elbow. If he did not come in every single day and go, Coach, how can I modify this day? It's like the same thing we've modified every day with you, man. But if he didn't ask me how to modify it, it was a bad day for him. Right. So it's those kind of things where, like, when you watch the kids walk in, do you know that kid enough to be able to say this is a good day or a bad day? Because that's going to play a big factor. And like, that's one thing that I'm good at. Like, the kids are like, how do you always know when I'm having a bad day? How do you? Well, it's because I pay attention.
Because I know you and I care about you as if you're one of my own.
Yes.
Amen.
You know, so it's those kind of things where you shut your mouth, you open your ears, you open your eyes, you see the kids interact with each other, and you just pick it apart.
I think a skill that a lot of strength coaches, especially young strength coaches, need to have is being really, really creative in your own space. Like, I remember someone said early on that some of the high schools have really great facilities, have really great space, and some don't. When you are limited on med balls, bands, you only got like 4 or 5 racks in your room in a group of 50, right? How can you maximize the space? How creative can you be in that space and still get the stuff done that you need to get done? Yeah, just being really creative.
Jay, what if you had like 6 or 7 of them?
Oh gosh.
I had to. Sorry.
Semester's almost over, boys. Hey, I heard
low
this.
hanging fruit.
Yeah, I heard this, and it drove me crazy. This is 25, 26. What's next year?
26, 27.
Yeah, a whole year of it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to get.
I literally, hold on, I don't know if we've talked about VBT, we've talked about timing gates. Like, when we have, if we're running some of our longer distance stuff, or if we have an athlete that's a little bit slower, and I have to say, like, I look at him like, I'm going to just say 6'6". Like, I'm not saying 267. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not going to say that.
I did that today. I'm not doing it. I refuse to.
Last question for everybody. Where do you want the high school strength and conditioning profession to be in 5 years? And how do you see yourself, the PDG, and then others that have heard it and they're like, you know what? I'm sick of just kind of bitching about something, and I want to actually do something about it. Like, realistically, I don't need to binge watch that TV show. I don't need to play video games as long as I do. I can cut some time out of my day BSing and talking and scrolling on social media, and I can spend an hour or two during a week to actually push the profession forward instead of just mindlessly doing something else stupid. Where is it going to be in 5 years, and how does it get there?
For me, I would love to see quality strength conditioning classes in the high school that follow actually a standard-based sequence, like a curriculum. Like that.
Like
that's
the one
what
that you're building right now.
Yeah. Honestly,
I mean, listen.
It is.
There's bias and there's good bias.
I would love to see it, because, you know, and when you think about the high school, and again, yes, they want to see sports win, but sports going to end eventually for every kid. It is. They're going to be done with it, and then how many kids do or, you know, coach, like an example, when the kids left Iowa or Towson, how many kids were prepared for that next level of life? Do they know how to take care of themselves with nutrition? Do they know how to take care of themselves and working out? Or are they going, hey, Coach Lima, man, I need a program. Coach, I don't, you know, like, if we do this right, this curriculum, and schools start to follow a curriculum, they can teach them basic nutrition stuff. They can teach them how to program for themselves, how to recover right. They can teach them basic muscles. They can, whatever. But it's the health and skill components of fitness that these kids are truly learning, and how to take care of themselves. To me, that's a curriculum in a nutshell, just guiding them through life.
kids need to learn how to do math once they leave. They need to learn how to do this the exact same way. And if they don't, they can learn how to hurt themselves. They hurt themselves. They can't functionally walk. They can't feed their bodies. They become detriment to society. I know I catastrophized a lot of things right there, but it is real in the same way that Patrick just talked about. I mean, one of my first notes was that, shoot, you guys are really STEM teachers. Like, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
Us all working. Go ahead, Justin.
And I kind of, I think that's where I would love to see it. Where we're playing a role in it is helping to continue to build that out. Right? This curriculum thing isn't something that's going to be done in 3 months. Right? It's going to continue to evolve. It's going to continue to adapt to whatever it is. Like, I would love to see this eventually maybe go international concepts, and how can we switch that over some other country or whatever, like different ways. I mean, there's always ways to adapt, but us as the high school PDG, us as the high school teachers, let's just continue to push it further so that we don't get left in the dust.
I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Helps for us to.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you. I think this really helps for us to see outside of our little tiny circle. Like when we're at our specific school, we're thinking about that. And I really enjoy working with all these guys, and we're working together not to just help our school. We're helping the United States as a whole, trying to help everyone to get on the same page and help athletes everywhere. Because we got into this to help students and to help athletes. So if we can do that at a larger scale, I think we're serving a greater purpose than just the school we're at.
Good point.
What about the tactical? What about police, fire, military? What's going to happen to the future, right? Our kids graduate. Not all of them are going to play sports. What about those people that go into those types of positions? Are they ready to do that? Can they physically handle the demands that they're going to be asked to do? The day-to-day grind of the policeman, of the fireman, the ambulance, the SWAT, the military. Then what?
Here's optimism for you. In every state Department of Education, the physical education chairperson has puts forth an additional certification spot for your state certification for the NSCA CSCS. So if you're applying to be a teacher in that state, there's an extra certification box that you can check off. And then in each county, the county superintendent is promoting placing certified strength and conditioning specialists in districts within that county. I noticed when we retired and moved to Delaware that here in the state of Delaware, you can add additional certifications onto your certificate so that schools can recognize your area of specialty. So wouldn't that be fantastic if we could get that to occur in every state in the union?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way I see it is like not only just I had this with Kyle Jacek down in North Carolina, but like just the positive impact that another adult can have on somebody in that formative year, like Justin being around those seventh graders, like just trying to figure out who they are as human beings, like, and just being a positive person of, I walk the walk, I talk the talk. I'm going to be a person that's responsible. I'm coming in on Monday after the weekend, and I'm not coming off of a bender, or I'm not just this, I'm a responsible adult that is a person teaching you how to do your job, regardless of what it is. Like you said, sport's going to end for you, whatever it is. If you're going to be an electrician, a teacher, a doctor, anything, you have to put in time. You have to be dedicated to your craft. And for more of those people to be poured in around them, I think it's just one of the most important things. And especially for young kids to hear no or good job from a person outside of their parents is just so important.
Good point.
Gentlemen,
I want to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want to make sure, in 5 years, as I tell my kids nowadays, I hope that it spreads more to strength coaches around the world, that when they leave out of high school, I want them to make sure that I'm not teaching them what A squared plus B squared equals C squared is, but I want you to make sure by the time you leave that you know exactly what it is when there's 345s, a 25, a 5, and a 2.5 is on the bar. You know exactly what that is. Forget the Pythagorean theorem. You're going to know exactly what 380 pounds on the bar looks like. That's your goal. That's what I want in 5 years from every strength coach.
I don't think there's a better spot to wrap it up right there. Like,
that was a good one.
That's a mic drop moment right there from Andrew. Gentlemen, I appreciate you. Everybody that's listening to this almost 2-hour podcast. This has been brought to you by the Jocko Willink podcast. We are out here, or the Joe Rogan podcast, out here for a while, everybody. So thank you for listening this long, gentlemen. Thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure to talk with you all. And,
thanks for the opportunity.
This will be the second episode that comes out in 2026. This will be the second episode. So thank you guys for kicking the new year off right.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, fellas, thank you.
Vacations are meant for you to be outside doing things that you love and reconnecting with your family and your friends and recharging your battery. It is not meant for you to travel and listen to some coach talk in a conference hall and eat some food that you know really isn't the best thing that you want to be eating. Take back your vacations and do so with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. When you purchase an annual membership, you're going to get access to our course, Performance Coaching 101. In the subsequent years, it'll renew and you'll get access to 102 and 103. Each year, you're going to get access to 2 NSCA CEUs and 10 CSCCa CEUs. These CEUs will allow you to be able to learn from the comfort of your office. You'll be able to earn CEUs on your time rather than having to travel. Take back your vacations and be able to do this with a Strength Coach Network annual membership. Click the link down below for more information. Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed it, click right here for videos just like that, and make sure you click here to subscribe to our channel. Have a great rest of your day.